Hi, it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. It's Letter of the Week time. This is our weekly, very informal challenge where we take randomly drawn letters of the alphabet and use them as inspiration for a creative project. This week we're honoring the letter T with tea bags. Now there are many tea bag craft projects out there on the internet. And you know what? They're all good. They really are all good. I'm not a big tea drinker, so I don't have a lot of tea bag papers here. But we're going to go through something that I think is really different. And I saw a use for tea bags that I had never seen before, and I put my own spin on it. The inspiration from this came from Annie, another Anne. Annie at My Creative Detour. I will put her link below. Annie took tea bag papers, which are generally used like for collage and for layering, which always looks great. Annie took them and folded them back into their tea bag shape and used them for hidden paper clips. I'm not doing altered paper clips, though. I made a little pocket for just like a little tiny journaling spot, just where you just tuck a little scrap of paper to write a little secret message. And I just really liked Annie's approach to the whole thing. So we're going to go through how I did the project, but I really want to give Annie credit for having done it. I just think it looks so cute. Tucked into a pocket with a little bit of lace, and I put a little extra pocket down here to put the tag on there, and it's cute. You can go a million different directions with this. I'm going to make one very similar to this one next. If we have time, we'll make a couple of others using different kinds of papers. So let's get started. You've probably done this, but in case you haven't used tea bags for a craft supply before, I'm going to show you what I used yesterday. We're not a big tea drinking household here. We keep it around. Dan and I both drink tea if we have a cold, but you know, it's not part of our usual routine. What do we drink? We drink coffee here. But the tea bag papers are really cool. I did make a batch of sun tea yesterday, which just made me think, tea, oh, I can use this for letter T. So anyway, these are dried out tea bags. They have been steeped already. I've gotten my tea goodness out of them and let them dry. And I took out the little staples that are right here. And that's, the things that... that attach the string and the little tag to it. So those are removed. I'll hold on to those in case I want to use them for something else. But you just open it up and unfold it. And I'm going to keep the cylindrical shape here. And all of this tea I will put into my compost bin. And then I have this nice little cylinder. Because I emptied it when it's dry, everything really comes out nicely. And, I don't have to rinse it or anything. And I can, kind of shake it out and get that last little bit of tea residue out. There's some staining, this is just inexpensive tea. There might be different kinds of staining with different flavors or the more exotic teas. You are likely much more of a tea aficionado than I am. I mean, this is as bog standard as it can get here in the U.S. Good old Lipton. Nothing fancy here. Anyway, I'm going to keep all of these. Let me set this aside and hopefully I won't knock it over and get loose tea grounds. Maybe there was a little bit of residue there. Now, Annie opened hers up and then closed it up again, which you could easily do. But I thought I would see if I could do this project without opening it. If it comes open, I can easily glue it together. I'm going to take a little piece of file folder because I want to insert something into this tea bag cylinder to make it a little heftier. And I'm going to stamp on it. Bring a little background surface here, and I just had a stamp out. I thought... you know what? it's right here behind my glue. I just cleaned. Honestly, my desk hasn't been this clean in ages. Let me go ahead and do the stamping. And this is just a little background stamp that has a bunch of cool looking alphabet letters on it. And I just thought that nice background might be nice on this tea bag. It doesn't have to come out. I'm going to, because it's going to be folded up and we're going to see either side of it, and this is a directional stamp. I'm going to turn this upside down. We're going to use a couple of different backgrounds for an insert. Here's one that goes this way. There we go. Now I'm going to cut it. So it's 1.5 inches wide, because my little tea paper cylinder is about 1.5 inches wide. So let's use our grid mat. Here. You can see that a little bit better. And that's 1.5 inches. I'll hold on to this. Actually, while I have my ink pad out, or my stamp, I'm going to get some of that excess ink off here, because I'm going to use this for my little tea bag pull. Tea bag tag. All right, now I'm not certain, I'm not doing this in the exact order that Annie did. Her video is really, really good. I'm looking forward to you enjoying that one. Hers was a little more elegant in the sense that it had a few more steps to accommodate that paper clip. Requires a little more engineering. This one, I'm not going to have that inner working. I'm going to insert that. I'm just doing the measuring right now, because I want to cut off my file folder to have that tea bag shape here. And I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm just going to eyeball it. Annie was an extremely good crafter and did a template on that. Your friend Anne is not going to be that good of a crafter here. I'm just sort of eyeballing that. And I can already see I didn't get it quite even, but I'm okay with that. And we'll cut it off just about there. And I'm going to be folding that tea bag paper around this. Now, oh good, I have a little more staining on this side, so I'm happy about that. Let's just slide this little insert. And if you've gotten it a little too wide, you just trim it off again. And again, if that seam, I mean, these are not meant to be, seams like, on your denim overalls. They don't have to be that tough. If it comes open, just let it refold and then put a little dab of glue. Okay, now I'm going to bring in, I have that pretty well centered, and I'm going to bring in my art glitter glue. I'm going to put just a little dab here. Again, I don't recall the actual process that Annie used for this. I think hers was, again, more precise. You can see I've got a few holes in here where I pulled that staple out. I'm just wanting to secure this down a little bit. And then I'm going to fold the little edges or the little corners in with just a dab of art glitter glue, not worried about, it's just to hold it in place. I'm going to fold along that angle. These go so nicely. I can see why Annie chose this as her 3 in under 30 minutes project, which is how I happened to discover her and her channel. I'll put that hashtag below too if you haven't seen that yet. We're now into September. This was for the month of August, but all of those wonderful YouTube videos are still out there for the enjoyment, where you can see lots of different YouTube creators making 3 items in under 30 minutes. Here's our little tea bag, and I'll glue these tops under. I think one thing that I really loved about this is that it preserved the shape of the tea bag, and I just think that's so great. You look at it and you know that, you know, it's the shape, you know, it's a tea bag, you know, of course it is. I could have made this whole strip a little bit shorter and got the proportions a little bit more true to what a tea bag is. So maybe I'll do that next time. But for now, I really like that. I love how the stamped surface on that file folder shows through. There's a wonderful translucence, gives sort of a mystery to it. You can then glue things on top of it. That's what Annie did. But for this, I'm going to leave it largely like this. We are going to do a little gluing on top, however. Then... let's see, I think I'm going to, let's create the tag next. Here is that little extra scrap that I had, and this looks like it's a little bit wide to be proportionate. I'm going to pull out my little Lipton tag as a guide. Okay, that tells me about where I want to cut that off to get the approximate width. And about like that. Again, precision is not important, but I do want these 2 little scraps to line up against each other without a problem. I'm just going to cut those square corners off. I can do both layers at once. Now I'm going to prepare a little bit of string. I thought about using the string that was, you know, that came with the tea bag, but this is really, really thin. I think I'm going to save this for something else, maybe doubling it up. I think a bunch of these together would be really nice at the top of a tag or something, something like that. But this string, again, is not meant to be something that lasts a long time. So I will save that for another purpose. And I think I'm going to make this not very long. I think my first one I had a little bit long. So I'm going to tie a knot at one end, and the end that's flat, I'm just going to glue in the middle, kind of sandwich up these 2 little pieces. And I kind of like the idea that it's a little unraveling there, because that's going to help me grip more glue. I'm going to put that right in the middle of the glue, and then this one on top. Pull that out in the middle. And art glitter glue, this is art glitter glue. The label has long since worn off. It's a wonderful fast drying glue. Useful in so many different craft applications. We'll just ink around the edge here. If you're a person who enjoys, I'm going to ink this now. If you enjoy hidden paper clips, if you tend to use those a lot in your junk journaling, I know you're going to enjoy Annie's rendition, but she certainly inspired me for this. Now this is going to look a little bit longer than the typical tea bag, and you can see because the original, there was a little gusset at the bottom that allowed for the fullness of that tea. That length I'm actually just folding flat here, so it's going to look a little bit longer, but that's also okay. Did I get both sides? Yeah, I did. I think I did. Okay. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to create one closed end for a pocket, and I'm going to do that pulling some sort of a antique-y looking label out of here. I have some of my own labels. I have some labels that I've gotten from Tracy Fox. I wish I had something kind of tea themed, but I like some of the reds there. I'm just going to be folding the label around the edge. My labels are not very well organized. In fact, they're not organized at all, but I can catch a glimpse generally of the colors that I want. I have a lot of my DIY labels as well. I think I'm going to go with that red. It says it's about botanicals, but I think that's fine because this is going to be wrapping around to the other side, creating a stop here. But because I want that to be just a little bit stronger, I'm going to pull out a piece of washi tape. And I'm not going to bother with additional adhesive here because I'm going to be putting a double. Yeah, I just want to make certain that this washi tape is just adding a base. So I have a little bit of extra coverage along that open end. That's going to adhere just fine there. And then let's put our little label around that edge. You could put anything there. You could put a little bit of a cutout, maybe a punched out circle, piece of a book page, but I kind of like the idea of there being just a little bit of extra sturdiness creating that fold there. And I think glue stick might be the thing to use on this thin paper. There we go. What just a delightful little thing to find in a pocket or as part of a junk journal layout. Now the side with the knot, this is not how most tea bags are, but I kind of wanted to make something a little decorative out of that knot, so I'm just positioning that in the middle, and I'm going to come in and staple on top of this. This is not a tiny attacher. A lot of people enjoy those, that brand by Tim Holtz. This is just a little stapler. And it doesn't have the really small kinds of staples. I guess the tiny attachers are the size of the staples themselves smaller. Anyway, there is our little tea bag, and I think it's so cute. Let me pull out, here's just a little scrap of paper we can fold. Let me tear that off, and let's ink up these sides. Just a little something. You know, I was thinking it might be really cute to put these in a reader's journal, you know, where You know, you might, if you're, you know, write down some books you've been meaning to read, or, you know, best book you read in 2025. You know, just write down the title. You know, or maybe the person you borrowed the book from, or, you know, the friend that went with you to the library to check it out. I mean, you know, there's reading journals. You can have lots of long narrative, you know, talking about, you know, things you read, but sometimes you can just write down the title too. And that's also just great in a journal. Plenty of room for both. So here's our little pocket, and here's our tiny little scrap that's going to go in there. And how nice would that be? Let's make another one. Let's do that. I want to do one using, I have this really pretty scrapbook paper. I have some music page. Do you know what? Let's just do both. This I think is, or I already cut this at 1.5 inches. So that'll be okay. Let me cut this out. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a mass make. Should we try that? And get that 1.5 inch width. My sister Karen is watching. She will probably enjoy the fact I'm going to be using some music paper in this one. Now, some of it is going to be upside down. Sometimes it's hard to tell which way music is going anyway, so we're not going to worry about that too much. I think I'm going to do a little more measuring here because I do want these next ones to be just a little bit shorter than this one. They're going to look just a little more properly proportioned. So we're going to make those about, these are going to come down to about 5 inches because it's 2 1/4, or about 5 and, right, 4 1/2. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 1/2. You know, I'm thinking that might be just a little bit short. Am I worried? No, this one isn't really directional, so I'm not too worried that that's going to come out with things looking askew. So here's this one, and then we'll cut a 2 1/2 inch strip. To just come in with my scissors here. 2, 3, 4 1/2. That's going to be good enough. I don't think I need to ink the edges here, but you know what? I've got my dauber here. You only have to do one side. This is music page that I doubled over, so it's got some thickness. Okay, this is up, but it's non-directional on the other side. So let's turn this. Is that going to be, I think I'm going to trim just a little bit off the top. And the same with this. I'm probably fretting about that proportionality more than I need to. But as long as we're really wanting to celebrate the shape of the tea bag, we might as well. Thing's sticky here. We might as well do the best we can. And cutting those corners off. There we go. Yeah, I did do I spent a long time yesterday, and the day before actually, cleaning my craft desk because it It was really bad. I've come up with, I think, a really, really good formula for, let me just put these in my little cylinders. Now this is odd. This one has the seam on the side. Isn't that unusual? I don't know that I've ever seen that before. I'm going to come back to this one. I don't know if it started out that way. Yeah, I'm going to set that aside and go with the ones that have the seam down the back. Anyway, let me know if you're interested in this. I mean, it is really a formula, a literal checklist that made a world of difference for me in not getting distracted and cleaning up my craft room. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. I would be happy to do a short video on that. Not going to do a craft room tour because everybody's craft room is different. You know, everybody has a different kind of space. You know, I mean, I'm lucky to be here in my basement. You know, I can leave my stuff up. So I may be fortunate enough to, you know, to have, a setup that works really, really well for me. I'm going to trim a little bit off the top here. Let's insert this. So I'm not going to do a craft room tour, but this tidying process, if you have, you know, generally, it's not really an organizational process. It really is one for tidying. And if you have generally an idea of where things need to go, you just don't have everything, you know, where it needs to go, if that makes sense. I think that this is a process that could work really, really well for you. Let me know if you're interested in the comments, and I will share. Okay. Oh, look, that tea bag is going to show through nicely. I mean, that teapot. And that's pretty on the back. And we can see that that music there nicely, can't we? I don't know if you can see this. It shows up really nice here in person. Okay, let's glue these shut and get to doing our folding. It's kind of, this is a nice mass make. That's going to show a little bit, but that's going to be on the inside anyway, so that's okay. Anyway, so I'm very, very much enjoying having cleaner surfaces, and I'm even happier having, you know, just sort of, you know, devised a checklist, a formula for cleaning. I think I spent enough time in corporate America that, you know, I love me a good process. I worked with a lot of folks that were very into, you know, 5S'ing, what was that called? I'm embarrassed now that I can't remember, but I remember 5S'ing the workplace. That's got a little bulk in there, but that's actually not bad. And we'll trim a little bit extra off here. It has more bulk because I cut down the height. There we go. Anyway, it was fun to come up with a process, and I am quite excited about it. And tea bags, yeah, I seem to have, for somebody that doesn't really drink a lot of tea, other than some iced tea in the summer, I seem to have a lot of tea bags around. You know, people bring it over, I get it, you know, when I'm having company or something, because I have friends that drink tea. Connie is a tea drinker. Even iced tea, honestly, Dan is the one that drinks more of it than I do. I'm so sensitive to caffeine, as you can probably tell from my extraordinary level of talkativeness when I'm filming in the morning, because I've had a lot of coffee. More of a coffee gal. I was on video chat with Connie last weekend, and I was telling her about something that I was really wound up about. And she finally put her hand up to the screen and said, "Ann, wait, how much coffee have you had this morning?" I said, "Oh, I guess kind of a lot." Only a truly good friend can tell you when to rein it back in, because you're just a little over caffeinated. All right, here are these two. Oh, these are so cute. I just love the translucent nature. Now, you can stamp on top of these and everything too. Tea papers work great for collage. Let's do the tags, the pull tags, and yeah, I've got both of these scraps. Oh, that's going to be nice with those little clefts there, isn't it? There we go for that one. Not using that Lipton template because we don't really need it. Let's, oh, this is such pretty scrapbook paper. I've had a big sheet of this sit. I've been hoarding it for months. I got it, I think I told you I went to an estate sale some months ago of a woman who, I think she must have passed away rather unexpectedly. And I know girlfriend was crafting right up until the last minute because the stuff, my heart really broke for, you know, her family that, you know, had to invite strangers in to, you know, get rid of her stuff. But, you know, the stuff needs to go somewhere. So, you know, I do, that's just a sad reality when a loved one passes. But anyway, this lovely woman must have been, I mean, she was an active crafter. She had things in her craft room that were current, you know. I mean, they were not things that have been sitting around in a box since 1980. It was, you know, there was, anyway, this was one, this scrapbook paper was among her treasures that her family was needing to move along. And, you know, I've mentioned with craft sales before, you know, you always want to be respectful. You know, these are people's lives. These are people's things that you go into. And, you know, to treat them reverently, I think is really a great gift to us to have that opportunity. And anyway, I think that this lovely lady whose belongings I was privileged to purchase, I think she probably would be happy with this little tea bag craft. Am I even in camera? Yeah, I guess I am. Using this lovely piece of scrapbook paper, and I got other things there as well, but this paper just looked so gracious and so pretty. Open that up a little bit just so it can grab a little more glue. Your fingers are going to get kind of sticky at this point. Anyway, I forget where I was going with that, but I think this is going to be just a really sweet addition to a junk journal. I don't have these little pieces completely lined up. There we go. Okay, and let's do this one, and then we will get them. Golly, I could, you know, I could use, I think I'm going to use the gingham side on this one. It's not gingham as much as it is like a tablecloth print. I think that beautiful scrapbook paper with a tea service theme gave me an extra gift by being double-sided. There we go. I hate to cover up those strawberries, but we always miss something, don't we? Just a little slather of our art glitter glue. Even though there's the twine involved in this, I don't feel the need to get out the Fabri-Tac, because there's going to be enough strength in the paper holding this, sandwiching this piece together. There we go. I really did not get those corners the same, did I? It's okay, they're so easy to even up. But yeah, for a book journal, I have a few book journals in process. I think I'm going to use them in that. Put them, you know, get them in a little, you know, a little pocket that has, you know, kind of a book theme or something. I love putting them in a window pocket like this. And with this one, I put a little ticket there, so I had a place to put the, put that little tag. You know, this would be super cute in a pocket that was shaped like a teacup. And I had a lovely viewer ask me to do a whimsical teacup pocket. I might have to do that soon, Susie. Thank you for that, that request. All right, now let's ink the outside of these, and then we'll do some stapling and some finishing. Get this one pretty grungy. I think many people do tea-dyed papers rather than coffee. For me, coffee is just easy. And again, you know, of course, dyeing of my papers, I don't use regular coffee. I use instant coffee, but just because it's cheap. All right, see how easy this would be to mass make? Super easy. I think I'm done with the art glitter glue. Yeah, let's get our little tag. Now I want the knot to be on what's going to be the front, because I want that to show. So this is the side of my music that is right side up. So we're going to just secure that down with our, whoops, and I should have, well, I'm going to have to glue that, I'm going to have to glue that together because I didn't put both sides together. There we go. Yeah, I did the first one correctly. That's all right. There we go. Now I'll come in and glue this where I missed a step. Now we'll just put that label in place, and we'll have our little pocket on both of these. And look what I did. I wasn't paying attention to what I was, to the tags I was attaching. But do you know what? I kind of like this. I kind of like this check going with the music, and the music going with this little tea service. All right, look at all the mistakes you're watching me to make today. But guess what? I think they're turning out just fine. And that is going to need a clamp. There we go. Now let's find a label or two. What might be appropriate? Here's somebody's, this is one of my little DIY labels I took out of a old textbook. Kind of like that. I want it on that side. I think I want the label, the teapot showing a little bit more. We can cut off that excess there. Yeah, that's nice. Arthur F. I can't even read that. It looks like true. I don't mind the word true showing there. And we'll trim that up so that's going to come up even. There we go. That's going to be dandy. And what should we use for the music page? I kind of feel like, that one with the brown. That looks kind of nice and vintagey. And put that on this side because we can put these on whatever side we wish. And I do think I'm going to put a base of washi tape on either side here. And it doesn't matter what color washi because it's going to get covered up anyway. Just have to make certain that the washi isn't wider than my little label. That should be a decent positioning. And this one will go on this side. Just a little scrap. I can't believe I mixed up those tags, but happy accidents, right? Let's come in with our glue stick and get those both in place. And then I have these other teabag papers sitting around, and I might sit on this beautiful afternoon and do a little bit of collaging, maybe a little stamping with them. You could do a little more collaging on just on the front of that if you wished to. Doesn't that look cute together? And there we go. Now, I don't mind having a few teabag papers in my stash for when I want to do something. But I was so thrilled to find Annie's video, to find Annie's channel. Again, it's called, oh, here, it's right here. My Creative Detour. She looks like she's Annie with a Y. Get that straightened up. Anyway, thrilled to discover her. And if you're a hidden paperclip kind of person, you are really going to enjoy what she has done with those. Refolding teabag papers. There we go. Look how cute these are going to be, these little pockets. Just to put just a little something special in there. Decorate them more if you feel like it. But, if they're in a heavily decorated pocket, it's a pocket within a pocket, and I think they're fine. I love the simplicity of them. Maybe a little stamping on top wouldn't go amiss. Oh, who am I kidding? We'll pull out the stamp and do just a little bit of stamping on this side. Maybe I've got this one here already. Shall I use VersaFine? I'll do that. I just want to get just a little bit on the edge. That looks nice too. That looks fantastic. So depending on what you have behind your teabag paper, like this one, I don't think it needs any additional stamping at all. This one, because it's not quite so bold and there's not quite so much contrast, it looks kind of nice to have that stamping on top. This one I think I would leave as well. Maybe I'd glue a little something, maybe a little bling or something there to kind of liven that up. go into my bling drawer. You can hear things falling out over here. This has some adhesive on it. I'm not going to be writing on this, so I'm not going to worry if it's a little bumpy. Okay, 3 little metal bumpety things. Maybe I'll put one of those here on the tag as well. I hope you enjoyed these, guys. And let's go ahead and see what's up for next week's letter of the week. Many, many thanks to Annie for giving us the idea. And I'm going to set these things aside. I'm going to be using my formula for cleaning up after this project. But I'm not quite done yet because we haven't finished this one yet. All right, today is the letter T. It's 9/7. I'm going to say tea bags. And what's it going to be next week? Rub my ink here. All right. Remember, you know, this, people drop in, drop out with this. It's completely informal. And we have S. Oh, yes, there could be some fun things that we use for S. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week, guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.